know, it's crazy. I always do that and leave YouTube up in the background so it's playing on stream. So if you were confused, that's what happened. Welcome in to Nebraska Huskers Live. And, you know, we've had some slower shows over the past few, weeks. This one is not a slow show. As you all know, you've seen on Twitter, you've kind of seen the news going around, everything that happened over the weekend at the Battle of the Boneyard. Huge recruiting weekend. And I threw in the title, The Weekend That Changed Nebraska's Future with a question mark, for a reason, because that's the question I'm asking. I feel like there's a lot of things that are coming to light and to fruition about the plan. And we're kind of starting to see how they're, talking to these recruits and really kind of giving them the guide of what the future looks like in Nebraska. And I kind of like what I see, and it seems like the recruits do as well. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into all the recruiting stuff, everything, be a little bit more of that revenue sharing, kind of breaking that down, where Nebraska kind of has an advantage over a lot of schools when it comes to that, and, everything else in between. So as always, if you're dropping in here, please drop a like on the stream. Leave your comments. We already got Mike in here. And I'm going to pass it over to my friend Brian Moore. Brian, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. I ran late from work, so I literally just finished typing some notes. Other than that, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Luckily, I got some notes prepped up, but Brian always keeps up with everything too. So on the recruiting side, so he's ready to rock and roll. You know how this goes.
Hell yeah. We
got an O-line recruit from Arizona, I believe.
You do believe.
What's up, Ron T? How you doing today, my friend? Sorry, I have to clear my throat. Let me clear my throat. No, I'm sorry. All right, let's go ahead and dive into it. So let's just go ahead and start with kind of why this weekend mattered. And I'm just going to kind of give like a little high-level overview of what I think on it. It's one of the biggest, it's the biggest summer recruiting weekend kind of the year with this camp. We had a number of recruits, which we talked about last week, a number of recruits from, this class, next class, and, official visits lined up for this weekend. Just kind of, it wasn't a recruiting weekend. And the way I want to just kind of describe it, it seemed like this is the turning point of kind of that what I guess the best way I can do is like a culture checkpoint, if you will. They rolled out kind of this full-blown experience of this camp, wrapped into, an official visit experience, like player-led recruitment, Trey Taylor doing what he normally does, just doing his thing out there, in the peer recruiting and stuff like that. And it was all wrapped into one big weekend. And so if you kind of wanted to know what the staff's vision looks like, kind of put into motion, we got a glimpse of that this weekend. And I think there is a lot to like here. Brian, do you want to kind of, elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So the 7-on-7 tournament thing was an absolute genius idea by Chief of Staff, Dr. Susan Elza. She deserves all the credit. Not a lot of people maybe even know who she is, but she used to be essentially the commissioner of all of Texas high school sports. And she is Coach Rule's Chief of Staff. She's the one that organized this with Adidas and got all these teams to show up. And Nebraska is the first program to ever do this. There was probably maybe a dozen or so teams that were the 7-on-7. You had Trey Taylor there, who's borderline 5-star. You had Ahmad Hudson, who is the number 1 tight end in the 2027 class. And I think he's a top 5 overall prospect. Very much considering Nebraska. In fact, he is a legit Power 4 basketball recruit too, and wants to play football and basketball in college. And Nebraska is the only team to have offered him a scholarship in both sports. It's huge. And on top of that too, there had to have been 100 plus, 150 plus recruits in town from the class of 26 through the class of 2028, maybe even 29, which now you're dipping in the middle school. So going to stay away from that. Yeah. It was freaking awesome. It could not have gone better other than maybe more fans showing up, but they absolutely crushed it this weekend.
Yeah. I think normally we rely on that fan output and experience to kind of wow the recruits, but I think that was all done by the way this was set up this weekend. I think that's the biggest part of it is like, the fan base is one thing. Everybody knows we have the fans and all of that. Like that's no secret. what has been the issue is putting this plan out there and giving recruits, like, if you come here, like, here's what we're doing now, here's the difference. And we never, how long has it been since we've kind of had a outline plan that we've been able to see? You know, it's been kind of like, I feel like throwing darts at a dartboard, trying to figure out where to go with each and every staff that we've had. And now it's kind of like we've, you know, over the last 2 seasons, we've been like, you know, waiting for the improvement. And we saw a little bit of improvement last year. And we're like, you know, is this little anxiety? Like, you know, is this going to be the year? Like, do we actually turn around? Like, what are we, you know, what is the plan? How is it? And like, we got a lot of those answers this weekend. And so I think a lot of us should feel much better about not only this coming season, but the future looks extremely bright. And Matt Rule made a lot of points, you know, where he understands, like, these players want to win, you know, they want to develop. And I think one of the biggest things, and I'll get into this a little bit, is they gave a vision without having to, you know, push just NIL and push like, we're going to pay you, you know, that type of thing, and just push throwing money at these guys. It was more so like, here's how we're going to help you as young men, as football players, as athletes, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it as well.
Yeah, they had the huddle event too, which is so big for Nebraska that the primary source for all of high school recruiting film is literally a stone's throw away from Memorial Stadium, their headquarters. And the fact that they had their own event in which they invited some of the top prospects. I mean, there wasn't a ton of them, but there was probably 20 or 30 or so. All of them are high major Power 4 guys. And they had Dylan go and speak, and then they had Coach Rule go and speak. And then they brought them all, hey, while you're here, let's go visit Nebraska. Let's go visit Memorial Stadium. And I would expect, especially with this day and age with NIL and the House settlement, what we'll get to later, Huddle will continue to have those events. And on top of that, they'll probably invite Open Doors, which is based in Lincoln too, founded by former Husker Blake Lawrence. So it's good that you have these foundational pieces that are ingrained in college football for the foreseeable future in your backyard. And they're going to do events and keep bringing in high quality products, educate them well. Also, my camera just went out.
Yeah, it's kind of cutting out on your end.
No, I'm back.
All right, so go ahead and repeat that last statement. Try again. All right, we've lost Brian. Brian is frozen. Oh, there he is. You good now?
I'm back.
Okay, try again.
I think so. My Wi-Fi says it's connected and everything's good to go.
You're good. Try it again. And Mike says, I believe a few of them said OVs now too. That would be correct. Go be red, Justin. To be honest, Mike, I don't even know. Like, yeah, I don't know if I'm in the Discord or not. Did it boot me out? Because I haven't been getting notifications. Also, I'm terrible at keeping up with just text messages, let alone the Discord. I'm horrible. My ADHD, I like out of sight, out of mind. So I forget to go back to it. And then I kind of swipe notifications away for the day, and then, you know, forget to go back to them. So, Brian, you back?
Yep, I'm back.
All right, go ahead. What were we saying?
Oh, I was just saying how it's like really imperative that Nebraska has these foundational pieces in college football built in their backyard.
Yeah.
And then I saw Justin's comment right below Mike's there, which we're going to touch on Sorensen here in a minute. So we can either do that now.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So we're going to touch on kind of all the prospects that at least the official visitors that came into town this weekend. The first one's obviously Rex Waterman, right? Nebraska just landed his commitment today. If you recall my video last Friday, I think it was Friday when I posted it, I mentioned that Nebraska is going to push for his commitment. They did not want him to visit Duke. And they wanted basically to secure one of their O-line spots. And that's exactly what they did. He canceled his official visit, obviously commits to Nebraska today. That is a huge win for Nebraska. Now, he's not going to be a guy where you look and you're going to see him on a top 300 or even a top 400 list. But you look at the competition he plays in Arizona, you understand that, you know, Coach Raiola's kind of thing was watering the bamboo. This is a guy where you're looking at 2-3 years down the road as a developmental piece that can be an anchor inside for you. He has position versatility, can play tackle, Nebraska's going to take him at guard, though, for sure is where he'll start out.
Yeah.
Then Hayden Ainsworth. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead. Keep going.
Hayden Ainsworth, expecting him to cancel the remaining visits. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you see the little crystal ball things I post out. That's when I'm getting info that says we've got to commit or something's happening where it's essentially a crystal ball, but it's my version of it because I don't work for On3 or whoever to post predictions in there. I've got one in for Rex. I got one in for Hayden Ainsworth. I would expect him to cancel those official visits and then announce a commitment to Nebraska. The one factor would be Ole Miss, but I really like where Nebraska's sitting going out of his visit. However, I want to clarify one thing too. Nebraska actually does like him as a tackle. I was kind of thinking he was more of a guard prospect with his frame at 6'5", but I think they're looking to pair him as a right tackle with Kelvin Obote or Claude Mapuma as the left tackle for the foreseeable future. And then at center, Ryan Moret. That's another one of my crystal balls. He's still going to take his official visits. I really don't care where else he goes other than Miami. That's the only school I'm worried about, and I've been saying that for probably months now with Ryan Moret. I got my crystal ball in for Ryan, though. I think Nebraska is in a great spot. They want him to wrestle, which is a big thing for him. He is a state champion wrestler.
Shout out.
Husker Wrestling, shout out.
Shout out, Joseph.
So you'll get a big-time heavyweight added to your room. Hopefully, I believe he announces his commitment later in June, maybe early July. I'm hoping Nebraska can probably push that up a little bit just to prevent him from going on other visits, but I think he'll still take that visit to Miami. And then Cameron Wilson, the 3 or 4-star edge, jack linebacker, depending on your recruiting service. He's visiting UCF right now. Could care less about UCF. Scott Frost has zero chance. This is going to be a battle between Tony White, Terrence Knighton, and then John Butler and Terry Braden. I think Nebraska's going to win out as well. He's completely infatuated with Nebraska. I would 100%. I got a crystal ball in for Cameron. I believe he and Ryan are coming from Miami to Nebraska. The big one is Luke Sorensen. I was not very confident Nebraska was going to be able to pull this off. And like Justin said, he canceled his Penn State visit, which that's my note, is expecting him to cancel Penn State. I didn't hear if that was official or not. We've been kind of on chit chat and back and forth before the show, so I wasn't really on Twitter or anything. It's down in Nebraska and Ole Miss. He's going to be a Husker. That would be my expectation. His commitment is on June 20th. I think Nebraska is going to try and lock this in before that to prevent any, funny dealings happening. But Nebraska went all out. Dylan, Dayton, Trae, all of them were peer recruiting him during his visit. And then we got 3 left. Sorry, this is a long one. We had a lot of
you're good.
Brian Bonner, similar to Luke, I thought there was like 20-30% chance Nebraska could land Brian Bonner. Coming out of his visit, I would probably up that to like 40 to 49%. I think Nebraska did an absolute tremendous job selling him on his role in this room at the running back room, in this offense, his versatility, etc. I still think he probably stays out west. I haven't heard enough for me to be confident to put in like a prediction or anything, but I'm feeling damn good comparatively speaking to a couple days ago. Kelvin Obote, Nebraska made up tons of ground. I still favor Oregon or Utah in his recruitment just for proximity, consistent development with tackles, especially at Oregon and Utah. They've put a lot of tackles in the NFL, especially Oregon. Jeez, they freaking pump them out. But Nebraska made up a lot of ground. I like where we're sitting. CJ Bernot, calling it now, is going to sign with Nebraska. I don't think Florida State's much of a factor. Granted, he'll take his official visit there. I think this is the Florida-Nebraska battle. And the fact that Florida tried to push his hand to make him commit before coming to Nebraska, and he didn't, and then came to Nebraska, and he left incredibly pleased. I think he's going to stay a Husker.
So Brandon here says Obote is the only one that isn't in. Why don't you go ahead and just drop, what you told me before the show?
Yeah, supposedly there is a pact or a conversation in which these offensive linemen that all visited, where they were all very much wanting to play together in college and kind of basically form that wall of protection for whoever the quarterback is when they're there.
Yep.
I think Nebraska is going to funnel a shitload of NIL to Obo or Claude, and I think they have a better chance with Obo than they do Claude.
Yep. And looking a little bit, over Hayden Ainsworth, he, had a chance to really bond with Trey Taylor, get to know him a lot. Again, kind of got that pitch from the staff of what this is going to look like going forward. But yeah, took a big step with him, kind of it's the vision of how he'll be developed. And you kind of match that with Taylor already acting like he's teammates with these guys. Like, I feel like that's a big thing too. It's like they're interacting as if they're already at the university playing together on the field together. And I think like that's momentum that you can't really, fake or kind of just put out as like false momentum. I think this is actual momentum and judging how they're actually interacting and what we're seeing amongst these players. It didn't feel like just a normal camp where you see a lot of individuals out there where you're just, seeing them go through the motions and stuff like that. The interactions were crazy. And I think a lot of that has to do, with how Trey Taylor has been. He's took command kind of on and off the field there during it all. He kind of almost, was a little bit of a coach out there, hyping everybody up, campaigning, on Twitter left and right for some of these guys, reposted Hayden Ainsworth tweet about it. We've had a lot of QBs before. We've had leaders before, and we got one now, of course, in Dylan Raiola. And Trey's presence, like just being the early, with Raiola coming in late in the process, it's not that he wouldn't, because he did the best he could in peer recruiting, over this offseason and in the time that short time he had after his commitment to Nebraska. But Trey Taylor's presence felt like everything that was kind of the glue of everything. It almost felt that way, right? Felt like everything was kind of centered around that. He's running the camp like he's already on the team. He's recruiting on the field, online, and like that's the thing that elite programs have. That's the thing that elite programs get from their future quarterbacks. Elite programs get these quarterbacks lined up for the most part. They get them lined up, and then players want to come play with them, and they're able to kind of get those ducks in a row. And this is the first time in a while that Nebraska's had that, as long as I can remember. And Trey Taylor being the glue, like we can't understate that enough. Just how, and I know we talk about it all the time. Everybody talks about it, but how much of a factor he was in this weekend. It's almost like it would not have been the same without him.
Yeah, Trey is, and it's not a knock on Dylan. Like you said, he committed late. This is exactly what we would have got with Dylan. And so what I like about this is because Dayton's really quiet. He's not a guy that's all over social media or anything. But what I like about this, what I like is Dylan is kind of, now that he's here, he's recruiting a lot of portal players more so to get him the instant help. He's certainly helping with the high school kids, or maybe if you get a younger, like Isaiah Hunter would be a good example, a younger wide receiver. So he's kind of building this thing for now with a little bit of a touch on the future. And then Trey is now funneling the future, like that's his only job, is funnel future talent to Nebraska. So there is, if this goes like we hope, right, we get 9-10 wins this year, maybe 9 or 10 the next year, you have this influx of talent that is continuing to come in while you transition away from Dylan in 2 or 3 years and into whoever it is, whether it's TJ, whether it's Marcos, whether it's Dayton or Trey. You should have a bunch of talent just funneling in the next 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just pairing with that, kind of what I talked about earlier with the staff and the culture, now kind of, walking the walk, so to speak. They blended everything perfectly together with coaching and then recapping reps and then kind of going on the field and like doing it. And it kind of gave a guide on what that developmental program feels like. And they finally are showing kids like, hey, because a lot of schools are developmental programs. I talk about all the time, like Ohio States of the world, they develop 3 stars at a insane rate, and the proof's in the pudding. Now that Nebraska is kind of in this mode of like, okay, like we're going to develop people, but we got to get people here to develop. And they've started to do that, but now they're kind of showing it out there. Like, this is how we do it. You know, the way they used it to turn it to one-on-one reps. You know, that's kind of an NFL style of how they do things. And that level of preparedness and attention to detail is what I think a lot of these kids like to see.
Yeah. And on top of that too, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Just going to the next topic. I'll remember it at some point.
It happens. It's been a long day. We'll touch back on it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then just going back a little bit to kind of, you know, what you were talking about earlier, you know, we had some of the 2025 signees, you know, already on campus, you know, kind of their integration before fall camp. And while like, it seems like everyone else is kind of, you know, or a lot of schools are chasing stars, stuff like that. I'm starting to echo. Preemptively get out and back in. Okay, cool. So yeah, kind of what I was talking about is like, everyone's kind of chasing stars. And the way I want to put this is Nebraska is kind of stacking bricks and in that foundational sense. And we got Brian back. So Nebraska's kind of stacking bricks in that foundational sense. And that's the best way I can describe it. The 2025 trench guys, you know, already locked in. They're serious about being here. They're serious about being developed. And the staff's not wasting any time on that. And I think that goes to show a lot of the other trench guys that were there this weekend, like that level of like locked in, like it gives them a signal like, okay, this is a place where they're trying to build where I want to be. You know, they're trying to grow this and get these guys as prepared as possible for not only the collegiate level, but for the next level. And I think that showed a lot. And that's why I think a lot of these trench guys are really kind of looking hard at Nebraska.
Yeah, the one issue Nebraska's always had, and this predates Coach Rule, is just getting big time tackles, bookend left tackles. I mean, you don't need to have, you know, someone that's, I can't even name top tackle in the country right now. You don't need that. But I mean, they've missed out on Brandon Baker, who went to Texas. They missed out on the kid from then went to Tennessee. Just drew a blank on his name. David Sanders.
David Sanders. Yeah.
They took a swing at Jackson Cantwell, and for lack of a better term, kind of backed away from that. They're swinging right now with Kelvin Obo. They're swinging with Claude Mapuma. And, you know, as things kind of sit right now, granted, Obo's recruitment is looking better. It's still not favorable for Nebraska, and you could swing and miss 3 years on a row on a bunch of bookend left tackles. And that's really hurting Nebraska. I'm hoping that's where Trae comes in, and he like Mark Matthews was just on campus. He's the number 2 overall recruit on 247. I think he's the number 1 tackle, 5-star for the class of 2027. He could be a guy where Nebraska forks out a bunch of NIL for. You finally get a bookend left tackle for the future.
Yep, 100%. Let me dive into some of y'all's comments here. I'm getting a little behind on those, so let me see.
Yeah, that blew up.
What's going on? Never mind me. How you doing today, man? My Tigers coming back to town. Yes, they are. That means there's going to be some good eats out there. We talked about last week. Let's see. Feel good, really good about Ryan Moret and Cameron Wilson. Go Big Red. What's up, Bone Lake Corn Fed? June 20th. Luke is in. Did he mention Obo? Yeah, yes, we talked about Obo. Steve Merritt confirmed about Sorensen. Let's see. What's going on, Trojan Fight? Appreciate you hopping in here. What's up, Caleb? Appreciate you hopping in here as well. If you haven't had a chance, please leave a like on the stream. Really, really helps us out. I'm not good at asking for that. I usually ask at the end of the show, which is a terrible idea. Him and his dad have been liking every single one of my comments on X. Murad has been instantly liking and retweeting every Nebraska tweet. Who understood how 7-on-7 works in Boneyard?
Just a skills competition, basically.
Yeah.
Skill players, I should say.
Yeah, skill players go out there and able to show stuff. You know, you get to see the one-on-one matchups and how they do against different, you know, each different receiver, stuff like that. It's kind of just a little bit of a showcase thing. And we saw some amazing throws from Trey Taylor. I'm telling you, that release, the arm he's got on such like a smaller frame. Like I talked about that before when I kind of broke down a little bit of his film. Like the zip that he has in the ball, the tight spiral that he has, the quick release that he has. And he was putting that ball in some tight windows. I mean, back corner of the end zone, like, you know, in this little window.
Crazy.
Yes, in this little window with just a little bit of space on the outstretched DB's hands, like right in the perfect corner of the end zone on the sideline. Like he was making some money throws.
Mm-hmm.
It was no joke. Yeah. Love Trey's attitude and leadership. Same when I retweet or comment on his tweets. Can I post our Discord link here? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I don't mind, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll post all my crystal ball predictions in there.
Oh, it won't let you post links in chat. We'll send it over, and I'll send it over to Brian. You guys are awesome sharing info with our team. I don't get a lot of coverage on Nebraska here and Cali. Keep doing your thing. I appreciate you, David. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate your support, brother. Remember years ago, I'd explained to my mother the difference between an extra point and a field goal. Dayton is, when it comes to Luke Bryan, country singer. No, I'm just fun. Trey's interview with DB and Ravi. No, I really don't get a chance to watch any other Husker YouTube. Like I can't find enough time in my day for it.
They're on Spotify. I started listening to it a little bit on my drive home, but they post the whole episode and they don't like mark it on Spotify. So it's like an hour and a half into it. So I didn't get to hear a bunch of it. I had to like sit there and skip 15 seconds at a time while I was driving to find it.
Yeah, I should probably get better about that. But like articles and all that, I really don't have, like, I just can't make the time to be able to kind of get on there and listen to that stuff. If we get 9 to 10 wins, I think we end up getting Tay Ellis and Mod Hudson. Mod Hudson would be real nice.
That kid's going to be good.
Any updates on the Swedish lineman, Brian?
Which one? Because Valden Sloan is who I presume you're talking about. But that was
the first one we talked about. But there's
a handful of European players coming to camp this week for 26, and I think some for 27. But I'm assuming you're talking about Valden Sloan, and the fact that he hasn't scheduled an official visit is weird.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. I mean, I know Florida, Nebraska, and Oklahoma are his top three, but he has not scheduled a visit here, only to Florida and Florida and Oklahoma. So that should tell you quite a bit.
It's been super quiet when it comes to him from Nebraska's end.
Yeah, he doesn't do a lot of interviews either.
Yeah, no. Believe since you missed any updates on the House voting NIL caps? We can go ahead. Let's talk about the revenue sharing a little bit. Let's see if anyone join some Husker fans. Join some Husker fans on our Discord. Feel free to hit us up. Dayton is very active when it comes to Luke Sorensen. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, yes, 100%. All right, yeah. So let's kind of break down a little bit of the NCAA revenue sharing again for those who don't really know what's going on. So, what was it? A $2.8 billion settlement?
Quite large.
Yeah, between the NCAA settled House versus NCAA for $2.8 billion. So schools kind of now are allowed to share their, direct revenue directly with the athletes. So Nebraska was kind of listed as one of the winners, of course, on I can't remember where I saw it, but briefly, but a little bit more on why Nebraska is kind of a winner in that regard. And of course, the schools with a lot more revenue are the winners in that. Nebraska's massive donor support, of course. The 1890 initiative, it's always pre-organized NIL structure that was organized before any schools were really kind of doing anything preemptively for the NIL. One of the things too, there's no pro sports in the state. So it's kind of that full brand loyalty when it comes to that. And then, proactively, I just think we've gotten ahead of a lot of things. And I just think they're more prepared than a lot of other places, especially with Troy Dannon's leadership. He just seems ahead of the curve and everything. I just
Tom Osborne quite a bit for getting us in the Big Ten.
Right. And it's the biggest shift in college football by far since NIL began. So, schools directly can pay athletes now, which is massive. That's what Nebraska's kind of built for, the infrastructure's there, the donors, they're ready to push it out. Collectives, organized now more organized. They're budgeting, schools without those foundations that are still trying to play catch up, or schools that don't have as much money to just put directly into football, they're going to fall behind now. And so this is a game changer in a lot of ways for those schools that are already ahead of the curve in regards to that, and already, with a big donor base, is already making a lot of revenue on their brand alone. So, yeah, go ahead. What's your thoughts on that?
We're gonna be back in court before long. There's gonna be a lot of lawsuits because the big thing is they're gonna audit every payment through the what's it called? I forget what it's called. There's some type of system basically where you have to put all of your whatever you're paying a player has to go through this auditing process. I just drew blank on it, whatever it's called. And it's anything over $600. So you're seeing, and I guarantee you Nebraska is one of the schools that did it, along with many others. They front load the hell out of these contracts before July 1. So the players are getting the bulk of their NIL and rev share money right now. And then let's say you're my quarterback and I want to pay you, we'll use Trey Taylor for an example. Let's say Nebraska says his market value is $3 million a year. Well, that has to go through this clearinghouse and they're going to determine if that is valuable, if that is true market value. And then if Nebraska is willing to pay that, wouldn't that say that's the market value? But if it's what they're deeming not the market value, then you're going to go into litigation about it because how can they determine my value as a player or my willing to spend money as an institution? So that's my concern. Is it's a big change, but there's going to be a lot more lawsuits, and I don't think anything's going to change too much.
And we have, there we go.
See the response below.
I know. I got the dad joke set up. I already saw it. What happens when football players go blind? They become referees. Big Ten referees specifically. But she's like the yay sports type of person. She even understands.
Mm-hmm.
Probably hears you yelling at the TV a lot. Let's be honest.
Yes,
that's my wife. Kind of leaves anytime the game comes on. My wife gets anxious, and just kind of like goes to the bedroom. The dogs do too, so they go to the bedroom with her. Everybody's kind of scared in the house when the game's on. It's like they feel it's a weird thing where my dogs kind of feel my anxiety. Like
I'm literally an anxious wreck the entire time.
Yeah, I know. From the moment I get up, I'm like, and used to, like, remember back in the day, we used to get up with some confidence and we're like, I hope we beat them by 70. It's like, we're the Big 12. It was like we're playing Oklahoma State, top 10. And when we didn't win by 50, it was like a disappointment. Oh, we only won by 35. Wow. Didn't cover the spread.
Now it's the anxious jitters is, gosh, I hope we play well today.
I hope we don't screw up. I hope we get off to a good start. And now I feel like, I don't know your take on this, but with the games being kind of shorter, like shortened with the longer commercials, the way they change the kind of, it's less plays per game, that type of thing, the way they kind of changed up the tempo of the game and the clock stuff. I feel like it's just like there's so many less possessions than we used to have. It just feels like if you get behind by 2 scores, like, even in the first or second quarter, it's like, oh no, like panic is already set in. Like, whereas before you're like, oh, we got plenty of time. We score quickly,
Yeah.
That's another anxiety factor that's been kind of thrown in there. It's like, I feel like we have to get off to a good start. And if we don't, well, here we go. Here we go. They have the vid of the interview here on YouTube. Got it. Was that the Ravi one?
That's the Damon Benning and Trey Taylor interview.
Gotcha. Dayton's a driving force on Luke coming to Nebraska. That volleyball revenue is going to come in real handy for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about
continue to take over.
We were talking about that last week on kind of how the sports echelon at Nebraska goes in terms of revenue and stuff like that. Mike, I sent that link on Insane. What is Insane? Is that typo? Because if you send it on Insane, I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to see it there. Let's see. In terms of revenue, oh yeah, the revenue settlement and NIL are completely separate. Am I wrong? It's like that's a complicated answer.
Yeah, so I think they're paying previous years of players who could not be compensated for NIL up to or back to a certain period in time. I'm not sure how far back it goes.
Exactly.
And then we get like 20.5 million per year basically to disperse through athletics, which will be volleyball, basketball, women's basketball, football, softball. That would probably be the bulk of it. A little bit with baseball.
Yeah, and we already talked about where the baseball money is kind of,
Just give it to football, man. Give me a left tackle.
Get a couple thousand, throw a couple thousand in baseball.
Yeah.
Sorry if any baseball players listening. A little late. Hope I didn't miss much. You did the other day. So after this, make sure you go back, kind of start from the top because you missed a lot. Clearinghouse, that's NIL.
Yeah.
Wasn't those the people that used to go around and give people houses?
Yeah, now they're auditing the money spent instead of giving away money.
Yeah, houses are too expensive.
Clearinghouse.
Houses are too expensive now, guys. NIL Review is the name, I believe.
That's a stupid name.
That is dumb. NIL Review. That just doesn't sound fun. Looks like Dylan was invited to the Manning Passing Academy. Yep, I saw that earlier. Good for him. And I mean, Dylan put on some bulk. And Emmett Johnson put on some bulk.
Yeah, they're bigger, but they look, more in Dylan's case, he looks leaner. You know what I mean? Like you can tell he's at bulk up, but he's not like chunky like he was before.
It's an efficient weight, right? Like it's just a matter of kind of, cutting down, like similar to what I do for boxing, right? It's cutting down on the muscle with adding like a clean amount of bulk. So like when it comes to nutrition, I think that's the biggest part of it, is them dialing in the nutrition on top of the strength and conditioning to where, yeah, he's going to add some bulk, but it's not going to be too much bulk to where he's, any slower or, gets tired out quicker. But he has such a good frame already, like a good quarterback frame, that he doesn't need all the fluff, and that's going to kind of help him be more explosive, be faster, and be more fluid with his movements. I think that's the biggest thing, is fluidity comes a lot when you drop down, get a little of that body fat off and get some more of that, skeletal muscle mass, as opposed to kind of some of that bulk and that excess stuff that comes from a caloric surplus. And I think that's kind of where they refine that in. So it seems like they've dialed in everything for him pretty well: nutrition, strength and conditioning, and all that. And that's going to be a big thing because he was banged up pretty much all of last year, it felt like.
Yeah.
So, and then if I can find a picture here I want to find Emmett Johnson, that one picture that they had of kind of what he looks like, just in case people didn't see it. Here it is. I got it right here. Let me pull this up for y'all. So this is from my friend Jim in Minnesota, posted this. So if y'all haven't followed him, go give him a follow. He posts a lot of good stuff on there. So, but yeah, that's a big dude. And like you said, it's a very lean build.
Yeah. So, God, his arms are freaking huge.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's going to be bowling over some people. And now this is what we need. When we're talking about having a bell cow running back, that's what he needs. He needs that bulk. He needs that muscle. So his body can hold up better, just like with everything else. Like his body's going to hold up a lot better with that, muscular endurance and stuff like that. And also, again, with the proper nutrition protocols and making sure that a lot of those, ligaments, muscle tissues and stuff like that are kind of built for heavy fatigue and putting them under stress. So I think our strength and conditioning is just dialed in right now from the looks of it.
Oh yeah. Dude,
was that
how big he looks?
It's crazy, isn't it? And wasn't that was it Nebraska football that posted that kind of that thing that they have now for injury prevention? It's kind of like where they were standing on that thing, and it was kind of like it goes like this. They're standing on it with their ankle, and it kind of moves around like this. And I don't know if that's kind of like for a little bit of ankle dorsiflexion or kind of getting that ankle mobility, because I know a lot of people's stability problems comes from lack of ankle mobility. Like when people squat, a lot of the times the reason their squat is terrible or they get a lot of knee injuries and stuff like that is from lack of ankle mobility and ankle dorsiflexion. Yeah. So putting that, kind of in that place where you have to balance it, that's going to build a lot of kind of strength around, the lower extremities, so that way it takes a lot of pressure off ligaments, joints, and stuff like that too. So that could be a big step in the right direction for that too. Oh, it's Husker basketball. Well, if Husker basketball's using it, I don't know why football shouldn't.
Yeah, no kidding, right? The whole sports science lab thing they have is incredible, though.
Yeah, I went to school for exercise science, so I love nerding out on this stuff, man. I'm very much into science-based lifting. So, all right, let's see here. Let me get in some of y'all's comments. One thing Clearinghouse may help with is keeping schools from throwing a bunch of NIL offers out before they actually have the funds, like what Miami is doing. That's true.
I'm calling now. You're gonna have a school going back to the old ways of just paying, giving a McDonald's bag full of cash.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's going to happen. I will not be shocked, especially if Miami does it.
It's like, somebody dropped some money in your driveway.
Yeah, oopsie.
Unexpectedly, you should go pick it up. A masked man out there.
What is this new Ferrari doing here?
Uber Eats.
Yeah.
Here's $2 million. Back NIL goes up till the 2017 season.
I feel like it should go back to at least 2000 because that's when the video game started. But
yeah, true. Dayton grew and put some nice muscle. You spelt that like the sea creature muscle.
Yeah.
He's up to 6'3" now. Yeah, Dayton was he still kind of had that chubby body. He still had that baby fat look to him.
I'm going to see if I can find a picture of him and Dylan together.
Now he's kind of getting, that muscle and and it'll be interesting to see how that changes his game. EJ is yoked now. Yes, he is. That as a massive dude. Played football years ago. I'm partially blind. How do I get a job as a Big Ten football ref? Well, you gotta be fully blind, so you're not quite there yet, Bo. Saw EJ and Amir standing next to each other at the 7-on-7, and they look like brothers. Amir was picture. Go ahead.
It's from last year. Never mind. I'm an idiot. Just kidding. He doesn't post on Twitter like ever.
Who?
Dayton. Like no pictures.
Oh yeah, no. But yeah, he does look a lot like, and I expected that, but I think a lot of us kind of were curious to see because we always knew that Dylan was kind of the better of the two. And I think now this gives him a potential, we're seeing him kind of come into his own frame and come into his form to kind of see what the potential is with him. Didn't Amir's team win the 7-on-7?
Amir doesn't have a team.
Yeah, I'm confused.
Yeah, Amir doesn't have a team.
Miami Raw did. Yeah, that was, yeah. It's like I didn't think they had teams, but all right, let's see. And then I wanted to kind of pull up some of the clips if I can find them real quick. I had them up earlier, but I accidentally closed them of kind of some of Trey Taylor's throws. So,
oh man, he posted them on X.
There
was one throw to Ahmad that was just absolutely freaking gorgeous.
Oh yeah, and then I had this one right here that I kind of wanted to showcase. Let's see here. Let me get it bigger. Speaking of Mr. Amir Abdullah, let's go ahead and play this. Let me get it up on the screen for y'all. Full screen this. I already got it up here. Cool. All right, let me take our names off here.
Yeah, that is definitely not Brian Moore in that video there.
Yeah, it is. Don't sell yourself short, man. All right, here we go.
Man, he's good. Real good. His delivery is beautiful. You can tell that he really understands the game. And, sometimes when you get in the 7-on-7 aspect, you can get kind of lazy with your technique. Not him. He's a guy who's locked in every single time, and that's what you want to see. I'm a big believer in grandfathering in the next, generation. And, Dylan being someone that now has a year on his belt and having a young quarterback like Trey Taylor coming in, I think it's going to be a beautiful matrimony. Well, you know what? I am super superstitious because I'm a football player and that's just how we're wired. But I got high hopes for the Huskers this year. Man,
super superstitious, not just superstitious. All right, let me back this off and then.
What's this thing from The Office? I'm not a lot of super. What's this thing from The Office? I just totally blanked on it. It's like my favorite show.
It is. It's been so long since I watched it, but I've watched it like 3 times. Let me go ahead and find. All right, so here's one clip here. pull this up for y'all. Oh, wait, this is it's kind of the Herd at Sports thing, but I'll play for it. But it shows through some of his clips as well, and then I'll kind of break them down a little bit. So
Nebraska land the top tight end in the 20.
Okay, see right there.
6'8" Louisiana native Ahmad Hudson received an offer
Nice
in
dance.
both football and basketball from Nebraska. Hudson was just in Lincoln at the 7-on-7 camp and caught passes from 2027 QB commit Trey Taylor.
See, like he's just got such a slight frame, but like
both are top.
And a couple of these throws were kind of touch passes, but I'll get into some of the more zip throws.
Hudson also has offers from the likes of Ohio State, Alabama, Texas, and more. Trey Taylor has been very vocal about getting Hudson to.
Okay, that's more on Ahmad Hudson.
Keep in mind, Ahmad Hudson's 240 pounds.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big dude. All right, here's one right here. Let's go ahead and pull this one up for you. Okay, so you can see Trae right there. I mean, right over number 10. Just a beautiful throw at the back of the end. I'll let it run again. But watch his base here. Perfect, stable base. Brings that leg through. You see how he drives through that hip, brings that leg through. And the release is just, there's no wasted motion on it, right? He gets that arm up, and he already has his lower body working. So that's just a kind of a flick of the shoulder. He keeps that other side. You see how he has that phone, hand up on that opposite side, on that opposite shoulder of the thrown shoulder. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't open that up and kind of sail that. That's what Heinrich Harburg struggled a lot with on his deep balls, is he would kind of throw it and open that shoulder up, and that would cause him to sail out, cause him to sail over, keeps his mechanics really tight. And that allows him and see his finish. Still got that hand up, finishes with his thumb down. And that's what allows him to keep that tight spiral. And that's also what allows him, with a smaller frame, to get zip on his throws, because he generates the power properly through his lower body. It's not just throwing it with your arm. It's linking the kinetic chain together, being able to bring that straight over the top, kind of get that follow-through motion going, get that tight spiral. That puts it right up there where he can go up and get it. And
perfect.
Yeah, perfect placement right in the back of the end zone. So go through a couple more here if I can find them. Oh, yeah, and then another look at the how do you feel about the field? How's everybody feeling about that? Let's go ahead and
I love it. By the way, a black sideline, especially on the opposing team, is such a savage move.
It is. It is.
Like, Michigan's going to be here in September, and it's going to be 90 degrees, and then they all have to stand in that black, which absorbs so much heat. It's going to be like 140 degrees there.
I can't remember which game. Can't remember which game it was. Damn, I can't remember. It was like 2023. It was like the hottest game, hottest day they had Nebraska in a long time. It was like 115 at field level, and I was like 8 rows up, and I was wearing a black hat, black jersey, black joggers, and black shoes. Worst
bad idea
of my life, bro. I was like, dude, I live in Arizona. I'll be fine. I was not anticipating that. But yeah, I love the redesign here. Then you had Cam Newton in there as well. A little bit more. Again, just kind of a little bit more of the throwing there. Trying to go through a couple more of these videos here to show y'all. Let's see. All right, here we go. Got another one for y'all here. Okay. So Trae right here, again, just kind of watch his base, watch the mechanics, watch his drop back. Boom. Perfect. He plants that back foot. Look how calm his feet are, right? Takes one little kind of half step forward, kind of already driving that back leg, bringing the hip through, and you kind of see him bringing that leg over the top, kind of bring that leg through a little bit more probably. But again, you see that finish. Do you see how he's finishing with his thumb down? That's exactly the finish you want on that release point. So it comes through, again, over the top, gets that hand across every time. He's got that phone up there every single time on his follow through. And just kind of look at that tight spiral on a rope and right where it needs to be on target. It's just honestly just like, it's like y'all know how much I love film. So I like, especially quarterback film. whenever you have a quarterback with great mechanics, especially with some of the mechanics we've seen over the last few years with our quarterbacks, it's a beautiful sight. So again, that follow through, tight zip on that throw. And he was locked in all weekend on that. Let me see if
from Taylor Martinez to Dylan and now Trae. Just
Taylor,
the difference quarterbacks.
Taylor Martinez basically had the ball on his shoulder and kind of pushed. He was all arm, and so he threw a lot of like knuckle balls. And then here's a little bit more of the clip with Ahmad Hudson. So here we go again.
That, jump ball?
What's that?
Is this the jump ball?
Yes.
Beautiful throw.
So again, got the drop back, plants, gets up on that, or gets through on that rear leg. Again, with the good follow through, you see his thumb down. You can see a little bit more there. That wrist follow through with the thumb down. That's how you finish a tight spiral. And again, like he just kind of flicks it up there. That's crazy.
That was inbounds too.
That's a nutty throw and catch. Elevates. Oh man, I'm getting
go get it, big fella.
I'm getting too excited about Ahmad Hudson, and he's not here.
Not yet.
Like not yet. Let's see. And that's another angle of the other throw. So let me see. Yeah. Here's a couple more. Actually, that's from June 6th. So yeah, let me throw this one up here as well, and then we'll kind of get into somebody else's comments. Go here. Look where he put that ball. In the bucket. Oh, see, I'm just watching it over here by myself, solo. On the money, deep ball. Man, it's good to see a deep ball go in the hands of the so again, quick drop back. So pretty long throw, but again.
Look what he's releasing that too.
Quick release, generates the power through the lower body. And again, you see him just kind of flicking and fading with that arm. He didn't even put everything he had on that throw. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I'm probably going to do kind of a little bit of a film breakdown with him. Well, a lot of a film breakdown with him. The more stuff I get on here as well. So, yeah, it's beautiful to watch, and y'all should be very, very excited about that because that is going to be an incredible quarterback when he puts some bulk on his frame, especially. So, let me get into some of y'all's comments here real quick. Let's see where we at. Amir starting his own 7-on-7 next year. How many highly sought after 7-on-7 teams are going to come next year? Got any predictions?
Double it.
Yeah, probably.
It was the first of its kind. So teams were a little skeptical.
Justin's not superstitious. He's little-stitious.
That's the office quote. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, that was it. Now I remember it. Ahmad is literally 1 hour away from me, probably less than. Ron, go start hanging out with him. Make sure that
go drop off a McDonald's bag.
Yeah, go put a little $2 million in that bag and be his Uber Eats driver. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm late for watching Alabama Voice Channel. Bro's over there watching. I get it because it's Jackson, but come on, Pit Snipe, what are you doing? Pit Snipe is not actually a Husker fan. Now that we know that, real turf will make a world difference for field temps. Pitt the man is in. Justin blew his sleeves off again. They said. I'm dropping muscle, all right? Damn it. 3 comments in a row. Number 1 crown. Stupid catch. Damn, Pit Snipe actually showed up. Fucking around. Who was the last QB you showed? Trey Taylor? Is that what you're talking about? I'm visually impaired. I don't drive. We'll get to walking, Ron.
Ron, why aren't you a Big Ten ref? What are we doing?
Get to walking, buddy. Yeah, no. Cutting weight, Jay. I'm cutting muscle, man. I got a fight at about 195 pounds, and I don't have a lot of body fat cut. So your boy's cutting down muscle, which has helped me be faster, and my cardio's night and day. Yeah, I don't train for size. I haven't trained for size in a while. I just kind of maintain my size pretty well. I've just always been kind of bigger. All right, So let's kind of give our overall takeaways closing the show here. Kind of what I touched on at the beginning of this. If y'all didn't get a chance to check it out, my main points. All right, back out, back in, back in. One time. I hate when that happens. Always happens in the middle of the show and the end of the show. Wait for Brian to pop right back in here real quick, and then I'll get into kind of the close of the show. But let's see. How about that Hawaiian QB that kept up with Trae that we offered this weekend? We'll dive in. We'll dive in. It's happening again. In the dark when the fight comes up. No, not at all. I won't let y'all be in the dark when the fight comes up. I might actually just push Brian to the background real quick if it's still echoing when he comes in, so I can kind of get my final points through here. Is it still doing it? Yeah. I'm gonna put you in the background real quick. Then I'll bring you back in. Check mic. Okay, cool. We're good. So yeah, kind of what I was talking about and touched on at the beginning of the show. If y'all didn't get a chance to check it out from the beginning, this weekend kind of proved that Nebraska's vision is coming to light, and we kind of got a taste of what that's like. And it's not an NIL push, even though Nebraska is going to have some advantages and a lot of advantages in terms of that. They're not guessing. It's a true vision that we've kind of, thought we would see over the first, couple of years, but now we're kind of seeing it in action. And that was all encompassed this weekend on exactly what that plan is going to be and how they're going to kind of present that vision. You saw Trey Taylorship's leadership on the fields, the execution of the staff, the recruiting strategy, everything was aligned, and it's not always going to be flashy. It's not going to look flashy with a Matt Rule led team always, but it's real, it's authentic, and it gives these players a sense of their future as football players, what that's going to look like, but also the family vibe of what this team is. And a lot of players value that a lot more than money, and especially at a school that they know will be able to give you money. I think that's very important to them, and Matt Rule knows the biggest thing to them, and he mentioned this, they want to win too. They want to win now. And so Nebraska's finally, in that position to where they potentially give them that opportunity, especially, with these future classes, 26, 27 and stuff like that. They see the guy like Trey Taylor they can come in and play with. So this weekend wasn't really, a headline grab. It was kind of a proof of concept, if you will. And I think Nebraska, was kind of a weekend that was hyped up, and we're going to see what it was like. And I think Nebraska they aced that test perfectly. And I think we have a lot of positives to take away from that for sure. So I'm going to bring Brian back in here, and I'm probably going to shut up for the rest of the time, so that way I don't echo. So Brian, come in and close the show.
Yeah. So just to recap, Rex Waterman committed, big time interior offensive line prospect, more of a developmental guy for Nebraska. And then someone mentioned earlier the Discord. So once I get that link, I'll join, and then I'll put my little recruiting nuggets that I get. If you don't follow me on X, you should, because I post my little crystal ball predictions. And then if you send me a message, I'll tell you who I'm talking about. I'm just not one to publicly announce someone's commitment, because that's rude. I'm not going to steal someone's thunder before they commit to Nebraska. And then Hayden Ainsworth, I've got, I think he's going to be in. I think I posted that on Saturday or Sunday. Same with Ryan Moret, Cameron Wilson. Luke Sorensen's canceling his visit to Penn State, which is a huge shocker. Looking for Nebraska to get that commitment. Brian Bonner, things are going good there. Nebraska made up some ground. Kelvin Obo as well. And then on Friday, I'll probably do another preview like I did last weekend for the visitors coming up, because this coming weekend is going to be just as big as this past weekend, in which Nebraska absolutely hit a grand slam out of the park. That's all we've got for today, though. We'll see you Thursday on the Husker Gutter Call-In Show. See y'all then.